was like, thank goodness that I actually did wear my bathing suit because lots of networking and drinking going on in that pool. So, I know you guys hear Jeff Glover all the time, right? So Glover was there, and Sandy Edry, who's a big one out of New York, and some of those other teams. But it was fun. We flamingled. Yes. And I'm going to apologize to everyone in advance. I am waiting on a phone call from the kids' school. If that call comes in, I have to take it. Okay. Thank you. Welcome to The Price is Right. I know that Susan and I are old enough, but is anybody else in this room old enough to remember that TV show?
I remember hearing about it.
You?
Tyler knows about it.
What's that? Does it still come on? I'm sure it does on some of those game show channels. And, yeah, who did it go to? Drew, the blonde guy? Yeah. So, a couple of years ago, I was contacted by GRAR, and they gave me some specific parameters of what they wanted me to do a class on for rebar. And this is what I came up with. The Price is Right. And it is smart pricing strategies for maximum real estate results. Okay. So, round one, and you will get a handout on this too, is the CMA showcase. So, most of you have been in my CMA class. I think we have 2 in here right now that have not been through that yet. So when we are looking at doing a CMA, right, there's lots of different things that we're taking into account. The location, the school district, the design of the home, the square footage, time frame it was built, year it was built, and then any extras that it might have. So when we're looking at doing our CMA and we're actually valuing it, why do you think these things are all making a difference in what that home is valued at? Somebody give me a scenario.
Well, it's all important. I mean, you don't want to spend tons of money if you have 3 small children in the school district that you moved into is, kind of trash, or, you're just not going to get the education that you feel like you're paying for.
Yep, absolutely. The other things too here is, remember we talk about the year that it was built, because you can't compare a 1970s home to something that was built in 2000, right? And the appraiser is going to look at that the same way. The other reason that this can be very important when you're dealing with your sellers, and we're talking about that design and that square footage. I just encountered this one last fall. So the seller was in a neighborhood that was only 4 years old out in Hudsonville. Okay. They had a bi-level. So remember, what is a bi-level? What style is that house?
Mid-century.
It's split. They used to be called split levels way back in the day, right? Because you walk in
and you're going up and down.
Yeah. You walk in and you go up or you go down, right? So it's a split level, bi-level. Okay. So for them, they were a retired couple. They didn't need all that much square footage. So they did the top level built out, and then they didn't finish off any additional living space in that lower level. So that's lots of opportunity for somebody else to come in and make that money. But he was comparing his home to homes in the subdivision that had already sold that were 2-story. Now, why is that different? If you have a 2-story home and then it still has a basement, you automatically have 2 levels of living space that are finished out, right? This bi-level only has 1 floor of living space that's already finished out. So are they worth the same amount of money? No. But can you see where a seller could get confused by that? Because they see other homes in their neighborhood that are selling at this price point, but those homes have almost double the square footage. Because he was making the same argument with me. Well, I didn't finish out my basement, but they didn't finish out their basement either. That's right. But they have a 2-story. They've already got 2 levels of finished living space, and you only have 1. Yes? Yes? Okay. Right. So when we do that CMA class, remember, we're taking all of these things into account. Now let's talk about those extras when we're looking at pricing a home correctly. There is such a thing as overdoing it for your market, right? If you are in an area where most of those homes have laminate countertops, right, and LVP flooring and that kind of thing, and you go through and you put in granite and stainless steel everywhere, you're not going to recoup your money on that, right? Because just because you spent $25,000 on a kitchen doesn't make it worth $25,000 more. Yes? Okay. And the reason I'm saying this is because this class, The Price is Right, is all about you getting it right in your head, but then you also being able to present it to your seller and have them understand why that price is right. Now, same thing. If you have a home, like in a neighborhood, and it was built in 1990, and it still has all the builder originals, but all the houses that have sold have all those upgrades, that is negatively going to impact how much that house is worth because it didn't keep up with the times and everybody else did. Yeah? Yes. Okay. The big question that we get with that kind of stuff is, well, how much is it actually worth when we're looking at upgrades? There is that tool inside RPR, which kind of helps guide you through those, right? But in general, you're never going to see 100% return on what that upgrade was. If you did a major kitchen overhaul for appraisal purposes, if, right, all the other houses already had that major kitchen overhaul, it's going to give you about 70% of what you spent on it. Does that make sense? Okay, so let me ask you this. If you have a seller, and they said, what was that, Will? You need it?
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're thinking about spending $12,000 and remodeling our master bath. Is it worth it for us to do that? What's your first conversation? Go ahead, Braden, come on.
I didn't really hear your question fully.
Okay, I'll repeat it again. Let's say your seller or potential seller says, I'm going to remodel my master bath, primary bath, and I'm going to spend about $12,000 of it. Will I get my money back for doing that? No, everybody say no. What would my first question be to that seller?
Think about their expectations, like, do you expect to get this back? Are you doing this for you so you can enjoy your bathroom? Like, what's the expectation?
That is my absolute first question is how long do you still plan on living in the home? Because remember too, people are going to ask you real estate questions because they're trying to make conversation. Doesn't mean they're looking to move in 6 months. So when somebody asks me that question, my immediate follow-up is, how long do you plan on living there before you sell? Well, the youngest one is going to be a freshman in high school. So probably 4 years, maybe 5. Okay, great. Well, if by that point in time, that investment will have diminished by at least like 50%. However, knowing that you could still get a 50% return on it and you're going to enjoy it for the next 4 years, that's what should actually be guiding your decision on that. Questions, conversations about that? No? Okay. Round 2. Oh my goodness, that slide shows up perfectly on my screen, but it is not showing up well on. There we go. Okay. So also when we do our CMAs, I always say the solds tell us what? Where the market has been. And remember, an appraiser can only use sold comparisons to value a home, right? Okay. Then The active is showing us the competition. So when I'm looking at pricing homes, that's very, very important to me. And then pending is the reality of what is actually going on. Okay. So let's say that Jacqueline is pricing out a home. I can send you all these slides too, Jacqueline. You don't have to take pictures.
Beautiful.
You're looking at pricing out a home. And in the neighborhood that you're looking at, you're seeing that there is a price range of everything from like 400 to 470. Okay? Because some of them are larger than others, some of them have more updates than others, all that good kind of stuff, right? But this is a big neighborhood. So we're going to have everything that we need just from within that one neighborhood. Okay. So the solds are telling me what that appraiser is going to look at. And based on the solds that I am seeing, then let's say that I'm putting the home that we're looking at right around 440. Kind of where it falls in line. But now I go in and look, and I have two pending homes. Okay? And they were both listed right around this price. But the thing is, when they're pending, we don't know what they're going to close out at, right? So let's say one was at 445 and one was at 447, but they're almost a dead match for mine. If they both got full price, then that means that the value of my house has now moved up 5,000 to 7,000. Yes? Questions on that? Okay. Then the actives, those are my competition. You want to be, right, the best house at the best price. And the actives are actually showing us the ceiling. Because what we find is sellers want to get what? The most amount of money that they possibly can. But remember, the more days that you sit on the market, the less money your seller is going to have in their pocket. If you're going to get top dollar, it needs to be sold in a week. That's just a fact. Top dollar. So we have to position our home to be the best house at the best price. So how am I going to come up with that? What am I going to look at? We know we're looking at actives. What would you do?
Are you calling any of the pending agents to see where they're falling, just to get any information you possibly can?
Absolutely. So I'm going to call the agents that have those pending and ask, just explain, I have one that's going to be going on the market. Are you willing to share with me, how much you actually got for the house? So let's say they confirmed it. One got 445, one got 447. Okay. Now I know I moved up there. Okay. Now I'm looking at my actives. What kind of stuff am I going to look at on the MLS?
Days on market.
Days on market. What else?
Same type.
Same type. Yep. Price.
Your
Mhm.
bills.
What else?
Your belt.
Okay. Yes and no. Remember, we need year built and that kind of stuff for the solds for the appraiser. Okay. But when I'm looking at what is my competition, I'm going to keep that very, very broad. At that point, I don't care if it's a ranch or a two-story. What I want to see is who is going to be looking at other houses besides mine to buy that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the MLS. And again, this can vary based on your area. But let's say we're right here in like the greater Grand Rapids area. Okay. And this is Kentwood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Kentwood schools. I'm going to take that whole school district. And if I know that mine is showing up around 445, 447, right? Then I'm basically going to look at houses that are between 400 and 500. Because that's the price range that this buyer is going to fall into. And then I'm going to ask it, how many houses you got? Total. And I'm not putting anything else in yet, just this. Let's say it comes back with 60 houses. Okay, that's way too many for me to look through, right? We have, let's say 2,400 square feet. Which is about what you're gonna get for that price in Kentwood. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna tell it to give me houses that are between 2,000 and 2,900 square feet. Okay, then it does that and it brings me back 15 houses, right? So now I'm going to take a look at those 15 houses and I'm going to see how they're stacking up against mine. And if I see, right, that out of those houses, they all look more dated than mine, then I can probably push that number up a little bit. But if I see that there's a whole bunch at 447 that have been on the market for 30 days or more, and the ones that are priced closer to this are still selling in 7 days, which price point do I need to be closer to? 440. So now, let's say that your seller says, but I want the 447. Why would I be willing to list it at 440?
So you can have more people, you know, multiple offers.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly.
Create
Pay
buzz
more.
is what I was just gonna say, get people at least in the door and looking.
Create the buzz. Here's the other thing. There's something in this world called carrying cost. What are carrying cost?
The longer stays.
Houses on the
more
market
stays.
for a lot longer than flipping immediately, or have those carrying costs of maybe lawn care, your utilities, taxes are ongoing, you have the carryover cost of still maintaining everything that you are currently.
Yes. So carrying cost is everything that it costs you to still have that house for another month.
Yeah, builders have it on there as a holding cost.
Yep. So you've got your mortgage, you have your interest, you have your taxes, you have your utilities, you have all that kind of stuff. So here's the thing. Let's say that mortgage is $2,500 a month. Okay. Then just staying on the market 1 month longer is going to cost you $2,500 to $3,000. And if I'm sitting on the market for a month, then I've already seen that my ratio goes down to about 93% of what the list price is as to what it's actually going to sell for, right? So now I just lost 7% here, right? 4 times 7, that's 21,000 plus 3,000 in carrying costs. If we don't price it right and get it sold in that first week or two, in reality, that's costing you $24,000, not 7. Yes? Again, people don't get it. Agents don't get it. And this is what sets you apart. Understanding this and being able to convey that to your seller is what makes you the educated expert.
Embedded command too.
Good job, Will. Trust me. Let's look at the math. Okay, questions? Questions about this? It's all psychology. Everything in this class is psychology. What the mind conveys, what the mind understands. So what you have to make them understand is, do you want to lose $24,000? Or do we want to take the 7 out of the equation and price it where we are the best house at the best price to get the best offer? Pain point. When you tell somebody they have a potential of losing 24,000 to gamble over 7, which one do you think most people are going to go for? Yes?
We hope they lose the 7.
Well, and in reality, they're probably not going to.
Yeah.
Okay. So round 3, Plinko the clock. I used to love Plinko. That was such a great game. When I say pricing within $25,000 parameters for max traffic, who knows what I'm talking about here? Anybody?
Can you say that again?
Pricing within $25,000 parameters for maximum value,
Oh,
or maximum exposure.
so if somebody's looking at a house from one price to another, you wanna, you said that before, you wanna price it right there, so it's included in their search. So it's like 500,000 in one or something, doesn't show, can't remember, but.
It's like pre-approvals go in
You
like
got it.
Yeah,
tens of chunks, right? Or
Nope.
The searches or whatever go in like 25
Searches.
chunks.
Searches.
So
Yes.
People that are pre-approved in that bracket, they're gonna look up to the 425 or 450 or 475 or 500.
Yes. So we have this lovely Keller Williams app that we can share with all of our clients. We can also set them up in Flex MLS with a search, right, that automatically sends homes to them. We set up that search.
Mm.
But you all know that they're gonna go look on Zillow. Doesn't matter what you send them.
That's coming from Zillow.
Yeah.
Even though it's on their search.
Exactly. Why? Because it's easier to use.
Mm.
It's pretty and it's easier to use. It's 100% right. But all of those websites, Zillow, Homes, Realtor.com, all of them, Trulia, they have search engine parameters that you put in there. And on the lower level homes, some of them will do 10K for their search engine parameters, but the majority of them have 25K as their search engine parameters. So, as Marvin just said, let's say that I listed a home at 504,388. By putting it 504, I missed every single buyer out there that put 500,000 as their cutoff. I just shot myself in the foot. And usually, if people are pre-qualified for 500,000, they're pre-qualified for a little bit more. But they know that they're going to have some closing costs and a down payment, right, and that kind of stuff. So they're building themselves a little safety net. So they cut their search off at 500,000. So anytime we're talking about pricing and putting it competitively on the market, we have to pay attention to this as well. Search engine parameters. They play a huge, huge role in how much exposure a home is getting. So are we having that conversation with our seller?
yeah, of course. 'Cause
We
they might
are.
say, yeah, my house is worth
Yes.
510 or something.
And I'm explaining all of that. And it is much more difficult if you're actually coming up with a price around 517, right? Then obviously you don't want to take it all the way down to 500. But let's say that you've been on the market for 4 weeks and you haven't sold. And I get this conversation all the time, and agents call me and they say it's sitting and it's not selling, and we're going to do a price improvement. I was thinking 5,000. What do you think? On a $517,000 house? What are you gonna do? Throw a penny in the wishing well and make a wish?
Drop it 25,000.
In reality, what they need to do is drop it
198.
804. Oh, sorry.
right below that 500, because that is going to get us to an entirely new reach of people that have not seen this house before. And remember, just because it looks this way on paper doesn't mean that that is the value that the buyers are seeing. Buyers buy when they perceive value. So if we've been on 30 days and we haven't had an offer, they're not seeing the value at this price. So when I'm going over comparables with my sellers, that is what I'm always telling them. And just because we see this on paper, that doesn't mean that that's actually going to be the right price. The traffic will tell us.
So in this market today, as we heard in the sales meeting today, houses are selling 30 days or sitting there for 30 days or longer. A number of people raise their hands. So how does this work in this market that we're in right now?
So again, it's knowing and understanding what is moving, days on market, and what price point you're in. Because again, right now, everything under 375 is pretty much still selling in 7 to 10 days. Those houses that are above 600 are still selling in a faster amount of time. It's the ones between 4 and 6 that are stuck. And the lake properties.
And the what?
And lake properties.
Oh, lake properties, okay.
Why do you think the 4 to 6 is stuck?
Just the price point of like the people that are buying it, like getting approved for those houses is different. Like it's kind of really middle ground. It's really hard to build.
It
You
is.
could have a lot or not a lot.
It is. Your average dual income middle class buyer is in that price point right now. So if we've got that average middle class dual income buyers, they probably also have kids. And remember, we also see a huge slowdown this time of year because Michigan, we only get nice weather for so long.
Yeah.
So people are going on vacations. They're taking their last camping trips. They're getting the kids ready to go back to school. You have sports that have started back up. All that stuff is impacting them majorly right now. So the house hunt is not as strong at the moment. Yes? Yes.
Yep.
When we get that under 375 group, that tends to be more of our first time home buyers who probably don't have kids yet and are not as affected by all that stuff. And the people above 650 are normally in a financial position that they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. So, does that answer your question, Susan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. It's just understanding your market.
Right.
Okay, and we understand what I said then about strategically pricing it based on those different parameters. So I'm not saying that we don't ever try it at 517, but what I'm saying is we may not see that the buyer's response matches what it says to us on paper at 517. Does that make sense? Okay. What are the National Association guidelines again for traffic through a home and showings?
What, say that again?
What are the statistics from the National Association about traffic in a home and offers? You guys have heard me say this a whole bunch, and I want you to get this stuck in your head because you will pull it out more times than you can count.
1 out of 10?
5 to 1? No.
It's not 1 out of 10?
Okay.
Couldn't tell.
Somebody, this will be recorded, but write this down.
Okay.
NAR, N-A-R, states that if a home is priced appropriately and the buyers see value, we should have at least 10 showings in the first 7 days. It also tells us that every 6 showings should net an offer.
Every 6 showings.
Should net an offer. So if we haven't received 10 showings and an offer in the first 7 days on the market, then the buyers have already told us
200.
that this price, they don't see the value.
Is this a conversation that you have with your, like, with the people that are selling their homes, your sellers? Like, do you go into it saying, like, these are the statistics, and if we're not seeing this, we have to have a conversation?
In the listing presentation,
Right.
absolutely. But, when we're going through comps and we're deciding on what the house is going to be listed at, those are the conversations that I am having. Because I want them to understand this. And it will be true so many times. So, I had one of those houses that sold last fall where the person is actually listed as I will never work with you again because she was so difficult.
Oh my gosh, that was her name.
And
We need to share that list.
she bought a new build in Greenville, so I doubt she's on
Okay.
anybody's list for at least the next 5 years.
Thank you. Saving all of us.
Yes. However, right? I mean, she was convinced this house was worth $425,000. And it was one of those where she kept really trying to play me. Like there were other realtors, right, that kept talking to her and talking to her. I already had a signed agreement with her. So I'm like, you can talk till you're blue in your face. I'm not letting you out of the contract because I've already spent a boatload of money on your house. And, you know, they're not right. Like I'm showing you, this house will sell at $375. Well, she was insistent, and we finally met her in the middle, right? And we listed it at like $398. We kept getting showing after showing after showing, no offers. Why? One, house smelled like cat. Right? Two, she made it very difficult to show. And three, it wasn't dirty, but it wasn't really clean when we have people going through. I mean, lots of issues with what was going on. And it was a unique floor plan, which we had to overcome in the first place. So finally, we get one offer and it falls through. And that offer was at like $389. She was able to swallow that. That was fine. But again, it fell through. Right? Well, now the offers that we start getting are right here. And she's arguing with me that she's not going to take that. We've been on the market for almost 3 months. Okay, almost 3 months. And I told her, remember the conversation that we had when I said what you see on paper doesn't mean that is going to be a buyer's perception, right? At this point in time, we've had over 30 showings. We should have had at least 5 offers roll through our fingertips. We've only had 1. And that was like the 3rd day that we were on the market, right? They were anxious. They wanted it. They made a good offer. It fell through because they figured out all the things that were wrong with your house. Everybody else has figured out all the things that were wrong with your house. This is a good offer. We've been on the market for 3 months. You need to take this offer. She's like, again, the other agent said that my house is worth $425,000. Her brother-in-law, thank goodness, who's one of my good friends, was there with us. And he said, she told you at the very beginning that that's what your house was going to sell for and you don't want to listen to her.
The brother-in-law said that?
Mm-hmm.
3 months later.
3 months later.
It's
Right.
nice when you have somebody else back you.
It is. And she grumbled and I said, you need to take it. You need to take it right now. Because we're getting ready to hit like that holiday season, right, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and nobody is going to come buy your house in that time. So, it's either now or you're out of luck.
Right.
Right? You're going to get $350 after Christmas.
Right.
And she already had a deposit and a contract down on a new build. She had to sell this house.
Oh.
So, she took it.
Well, if it was around this time of year, you need to sell it to keep the windows and doors open to get the cat smell out.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, when you don't clean the litter boxes and you have 4 cats, it's pretty hard to get the cat smell out.
Yeah, that's why you said in the winter it won't sell for 50.
Right. But
Can't
two,
open the doors and
people
windows.
don't buy a lot between the people who buy during Thanksgiving and Christmas are people that have to have a house. And this was a little more unique situation too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, understand when we're looking at this, again, day 1 to 4, that is your peak. Day 15 to 30, somewhere in there, you're going to have to do a price drop. And you see this after 30 days decay. That's pretty much what it means. After 30 days, you are at the mercy of the buyer.
Mm.
You got wholesalers going.
You know, or not wholesalers calling. Which they can't do if it's still listed with an agent. But they'll try.
I got a weird, I'm sorry, it's off topic. I got a weird call from somebody looking, oh, are you selling it? He gave me a random address. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, are you selling this house? I'm looking for some houses for my buyer. I'm like, are you an agent? He's like, no. I'm You can't be calling, right? You can't be calling, can you?
I can't. But
Huh?
What
there's,
is it, 3 houses or 5 houses a year without having your real estate license?
they can do up to 3 wholesalers.
Yeah.
But wholesalers don't normally work with buyers. Wholesalers
Right.
go after sellers who don't know what their home is worth.
Right.
Well, he was
That
telling
might just
me,
be spam.
he gave me the address and he, probably.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, this address, and are you selling this house? And I was like, no.
They knew who you were. They were trying to keep you on the phone, and then eventually they were going to try to get you scammed into something.
Oh yeah, I told him you're not allowed. You can't be doing that.
Well, he's gonna call the next number that's on his list.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
They don't care.
I figured, yeah.
We
And-
get them so.
Yes. Remember, every phone call, every text, every email that you get asking you about if you want leads in this area, or they're looking for an agent
Oh,
in
yeah.
Grand Rapids, or they have lots
Yeah.
of buyers, or would you like to join their exclusive club, is a scam.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, of course. So I got a lot of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can screenshot it and
Right.
send it to me, and I will
Doesn't
tell you
matter.
if it's legit. But 99.9% of them are not legit.
Yeah, I just click report spam.
That's what I do too.
But
Although
this-
all the spam phone calls that I get right now are the "we have you approved for $75,000 for blah 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 blah," or you owe IRS.
I've been getting a lot of traffic stuff, like big tickets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're really hitting
Wait.
this younger generation with those. Like I have an 18-year-old who gets one every single day trying to tell her that she owes a fine for a
It's like
traffic
dishwasher,
ticket.
I'm like, well,
Oh yeah, the toll.
Yep.
Hey,
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
So this
Wait,
this
count.
part, this
Okay.
part right here, we tell the seller, right? We inform the seller about this before we do it. Like if
Yeah, these are all conversations that I am having with the seller in my listing consultation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Remember, we do, for you guys that are new here, we do have kind of like canned listing presentations and buyer presentations that we have pre-made, and you just have to drop your name, into them. And you can create your own, right? KW uses Canva, and those are integrated. So you can make some great slides and infographics and stuff with Canva. But two, like you can tell it, this is the information that I want it to have. If this is Notebook LM. So if you're using Notebook LM, like I basically said, here's the syllabus for my class, here's the handout that I give, create all my slides, and I want it done in a Price is Right scene. And it does it. So if you like an infographic like this, you can have Notebook LM create it for you, rather than even having to do it on your own in Canva. You just tell it what you want and it makes it. I had to buy a new computer yesterday.
All
I don't know
right.
if you saw, I haven't had time to load everything, but mine got thumped
Yes.
somewhere on the trip. And it's a Lenovo, but it has one of those creator studios in it. So I was doing the little demo thing while I was doing all those updates yesterday, and you can go into that palette, right? So you're basically kind of like drawing. And what this lady had done was a really horrible sketch of a turtle. And then she just like made different colors for the coral, and then said, I'm looking for a sea turtle swimming through the ocean, kind of with a smile on his face and coral all around him, blah, blah, blah. And it took her little
Doodle.
stick figure thingy and made it into a full-fledged, AI generated photo.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing
Oh, yeah.
what we can do with all these now. So I'm saying, if you want a cool graphic like that, you can do it. And if you can't create it yourself in Canva, don't worry about it. Get something like Notebook LM. You can tell it what you want. You can give it a slide and it will make it for you. Okay, questions on any of this? Okay. The Showcase Showdown. Remember when I said psychology? Everything that we're looking for here too is also showing them the psychology behind the pricing, right? Facts, numbers, and the tug and the pull. Sellers tend to be much more fact and number driven when we're talking about selling their home. Buyers tend to be much more emotionally driven when they're looking at buying the home. Does that make sense? I mean, think about it. When you're selling it, you do have all these wonderful memories, right? Maybe it's the house that you bought when you got married and you brought your kids home to this house, or you watched them grow up, or blah, blah, blah. So they're emotional about that. But in general, when they're ready to sell, what they're looking at is how much money am I putting in my pocket? When buyers are going to look for a house, they're trying to find the one where they can envision themselves cooking those meals in that great kitchen and playing with the kids in the backyard on the swing set, right? So anything that you're doing seller based should all be facts and logic. So then let's talk about the magic of 4s and 8s. So there were 2 studies done at Harvard about numbers and the impact that numbers have on our brain. And from that study, the brain implies extreme value and happiness from 4s and 8s. Every house that you see is probably listed using what number on the MLS? 9s, right? You see a house and it's going to be listed at $399,999 because that's $1 away from 400, and our brain thinks a 3 is better than a 4, right? That's all true. But what other industry lists everything at that price?
Supermarkets.
Automotive.
Who? Somebody said it.
Automotive.
Cars. Car dealerships. Everything is listed with a 999.
It was a technique, bring it down in the past to sell it one. The 9 worked in the past.
Right. But again, what is the overall perception in our head with car salesmen?
They're sleazy.
Sneaky, oily, sneaky people. Sorry.
Oily, sneaky, it doesn't mean they are. I've got friends that are car salesmen that are really good people.
Oh, yeah.
But that is the overall perception. And when people have a bad experience in real estate, they say they're just like car salesmen. There is a reason that we get a bad rap associated with car salesmen. And that is using pushy sales techniques, right? Pressuring people into things and ending everything in a 999. Stop it. Don't do it. Don't end things in 999. We want to be using 4s and 8s. There's somebody else that knows the magic of 4s and 8s in the retail world. Who do you think that is?
Walmart.
Walmart.
Costco.
Walmart, Sam's Club, and Costco.
You know, only if they're discontinuing something, they end it in 8.
That's correct. Right. And also when they're discontinuing something, they want it out so they could bring new stuff in.
Yep.
And that 8 is very pleasing to your head.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was at Costco with my 16-year-old. And this time of year, I don't have a lot of free time. But in the winter, I really like to cook and bake bread and all that kind of stuff. And I have a Hamilton Beach mixer that I have had for 22 years. Works fine. Really wanted a KitchenAid. I really wanted a KitchenAid for a long time, but I am super cheap and I'm not spending $600 on a KitchenAid mixer, right? But I really wanted that KitchenAid because then you can do all the attachments with it, right?
Yeah.
The pasta roller, the meat grinder, and
It has a lot.
yes, the chopper, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're grabbing our stuff at Costco, and I said, all right, Viv, just for giggles, let's walk down this aisle. It's kind of like where they have the pots and the pans and all that stuff. And I never walked through those aisles. And I did. And there was a KitchenAid there. And there was only one of them left. And it was on clearance. And it was on clearance at $269.88.
That's not bad.
And I looked at it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just not going to buy it today. And I start to walk off. And my 16-year-old says, Mom, you've been talking about one of those for years. You will never, ever, ever find one at that price again. What are you doing? And I said, you're right. And I went back over and I picked up that KitchenAid and I put it in my cart. And by the time I got to the checkout counter, I was hugging it.
Can I come over to your kitchen?
And after I got it out of the box and put it all together, I was hugging and kissing it more. She's taking pictures of me hugging and kissing my KitchenAid. But again, that 8.8, right? Even though it was still $269, that 8.8 was still pleasing to my brain. It didn't scare me off with anything. So we're always looking at 4s and 8s. So again, if I was looking at pricing this $399, $999, I would actually put mine at $399, $888. And anything I'm going to have with a 5 in it, right? So let's say $350 is my magic price. Then I would be listing at $350. I would put it at $348, $888. Because that is the most pleasing number that my head can find for that price point. Questions, thoughts?
You do that for all your listings?
I do. You will not see me put a listing with $999 on it.
Okay.
Not even 9 maybe?
I took this class, I think February or something like that, but I do eBay
Mm-hmm.
and I redid all my pricing with 8s and 4s, and I have seen like a dramatic increase in my sales for it, so thank you.
And when you're explaining to your client why you don't want to list it at $349,999, you want it at $348,888, and you actually explain that about the Harvard study, how our brain likes the 4s and the 8s, and the association that 999 has with used cars.
Yeah.
How smart and intelligent do you think you seem to that seller? Everything that we're doing through there is still establishing that you are the authority, you are the expert. And that they need to listen to you when you're telling them what to do.
Yep.
Remember, in order to get your house sold, this is a partnership. I can't sell it without your help. And you need my help to get it sold. But that means we have to work together and we have to collaborate. I need you to follow the rules that I set out to get you top dollar in the shortest amount of time. Are you willing to do that? There you go, Will. There's your full script with like 8 embedded commands in it. But my tone, I guided that, right? And my tone through that whole conversation was just getting them to agree with me and do what I want. It's manipulative. You have to be manipulative.
Well, you're
You've heard-
guiding them into the right path. You know.
And you have heard the phrase buyers be crazy. Well, let me tell you, sometimes sellers be even crazier.
Yeah.
And if you let them boss you around and run you around, you are going to have a miserable career in real estate.
Yeah.
You have to be able to take charge of the situation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about those fierce conversations before too. You have to be able to nip things in the bud.
Yep.
And you have to have fierce conversations, and people are scared of it.
Mhm.
But remember, no, I don't want to. Did it physically hurt you?
Physically, no.
Did you like hearing it?
I was confused.
His heart is with you.
But I didn't wound you, right? You were startled,
I was confused. Yeah.
confused, but there is no physical harm to you. And in 2 minutes, who cares that I just did that,
Mhm.
right?
No,
People are going to say no. People are going to argue with you. That's okay. You have to argue back.
yes. Yeah.
You have to control the situation. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do one more thing here, and then I'm going to tell you another one. So, okay. I haven't done a class on this in a while, but a lot of you have heard my story too about mirror and match. Does everybody know what mirror and match is?
Yes.
Mirroring on the customers.
So, mirror and match is when you are mirroring and matching the other person's body language, tone of voice, cadence of speech, energy, everything. Right? That is another part of the psychological steering of what you need. If I'm sitting in a listing appointment right now with Susan, and I can see that Susan is she's back in her chair and she's got her arms folded. I'm going to be sitting back in my chair with my arms folded. What does this body language tell me right now?
Closed off and closed.
She's closed off, she's guarded. So as I use my language and I'm matching her, she's not going to realize I'm matching her, but subconsciously she will. And then eventually she's going to get to like this posture. And then I'm going to match this posture. And then eventually she's going to be leaning in to hear what I'm saying. I'm pulling her in. I'm going to lean in as well. And also the softer and the calmer that I am through that lean in, the more she's going to be compelled to get drawn in to what I'm telling her. But you have some clients that are just off the wall. So, his name's Patrick. I'm not going to give you any of his other information, but I've done 3 transactions with Patrick. First transaction that I did, we were selling his house. Okay. Patrick was very aggressive, domineering, really like macho, guy's guy. And I think he came across very intimidating to women. Like there was another agent who had tried to work with him and she's like, I can't do this. You have to. I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm sitting there with him going through comps and he starts to argue with me over, he wants like $100,000 more than the house is worth. And he starts yelling. And it's pretty much like, I don't care what you say. My house is worth $100,000 more. Well, most people would have been right? Like you're going to get small and you don't know how to handle this and you're going to do. And I look at him and I go, well, then you're an idiot because I'm the expert. And what's going to happen is in a year, your house isn't still going to have sold. Then he was like, is that really what's going to happen? Absolutely. I matched him. He's used to bullying people into getting what he wants. And then I eventually learned that if you talk to him like you're his mama, he will do what you need him to do. Right? So we get an offer. It's a good offer. It's like $3,000 under full price. And this is a $500,000 house. And he was like, that is not going to do it. I want full price. I'm like, we have been on the market for 7 days. You're in this price point. It is $3,000, below full price. Like, you need to take this offer. I want somebody who's going to pay me all of it. We go back and forth for 3 more minutes. And I went, Patrick, put your signature on the offer. You're not getting any better. So take it or you're going to get screwed over. Okay. He signs it. You have to learn the psychology of reading people. And I promise you right now, whatever you're doing, try it for the next week. When you're at home, when you're in another business setting, when you're talking to somebody, mirror and match their tone, body language, and see how it changes the conversations, the reactions, and the responses that you get.
Yeah, I can vouch. I've had a lot of that happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so winning the grand prize. Smart pricing isn't about guessing, it's a proven sequence. And we just went through that entire sequence. And that is how you get a home sold in the least amount of time for the highest amount of money. And that is the setup of how you should formulate what you present and how you say it to your sellers. So explaining again how they do a CMA, right? What the pendings and the actives tell us. You want to hand these out for me, Will?
Sure.
Days on market, how that sets you apart, how that can impact the sale, right? Pricing trends, and then your 4s and your 8s in your numbers. whole class. So what other questions, comments do you have about it?